I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. Welcome to the Business Lockdown, the absolutely beautiful and gorgeous Saffron Hart. Saffron, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's great to have you here. So let me get this right. So part of the global expansion team for Herbalife, you had your own hair salon beauty business for 6 years, recently moved out the area, so gave that up, followed love to Derbyshire. You are also previously Miss Hull and then Miss Great Britain. So the first Miss Great Britain we've had on our show, which took you to Malaysia for Miss World Tourism competition. So, I mean, there's loads we can delve into today. Really excited to have you on the show. And we've previously worked together as well, haven't we, as presenters for fashion events and shows, and which was amazing, you know. So I just know that this is going to be a great show because it was an absolute pleasure working with yourself, and I know that we bounced off each other for this show and really enjoyed it. So where do we start with you, Saffron? That's probably the most difficult.
I need to get a hobby, don't I?
Well, all right, let's Miss Great Britain. Let's just go straight in with Miss Great Britain. I mean, how was that journey for you? That must have been really incredible.
Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable. It's still one of those things that I still can't believe I did. Like, it just doesn't feel like my story still. I think it's something that I never, as much as I absolutely worked my socks off and I believed I could do it, I never really truly believed that I could have ever been a Miss Great Britain. It just seemed like so out of my depth. But yeah, unbelievable. It has led to so many incredible opportunities. And obviously I'm still really lucky that I get to work with the brand now. But yeah, started as Miss Hull and the rest is history, I guess. So it's just been an incredible few years, yeah.
And you say that you still work with the brand, so you actually train ladies up for the competition. Right? So how does that look? Is that separate times of the year, or is it one main focus period of the year? How does that look? And then what does training involve? Because there's a lot, there's still a lot of negative press associated with Miss Great Britain, and maybe previously a guest judge for Miss Hull on a number of occasions. So you know that kind of negative press, where it's actually there's a lot more involved than just looking glamorous and looking pretty and stood there, isn't it? So
yeah.
So when it comes to training, what does that look like?
Oh, 100%. I always say, like, when people bring this up, I was definitely not the most beautiful girl on the stage that day at all. These girls are stunning, but they're not just stunning girls. We have doctors, nurses, dentists, lawyers from all different walks of life. These are like professional boss babes at their finest. But they just love making a difference in the community, and that's more what it's about. So yeah, we do get dressed up on stage and it makes you feel good, but that's such a small portion of what actually goes on for the 6 months prior, which is kind of where I now come in. So I get to help the girls with what differences they want to make, what they want their platform to be, who they want to work with. And then obviously we have a little bit of fun in the catwalk room when it comes down to walking, posing, and interview techniques. That's something that is a really big part of Miss Great Britain. You get a 2-minute interview on the day, which really is not a lot at all because the girls have been doing so much in the run up to the finals. You kind of get that 2-minute interview to sell yourself. What have you been doing, and why should you be given the job? It is a job at the end of the day, so why should that be given to you? So I actually love working at this side of it now. Really helping the girls, bringing them out. And it sounds cliche, but you have to go as yourself, because I think there is such a stereotype of pageants that if you turn up as that, it's not you. It can only last so long. So you really do have to turn up as yourself and just be honest, be raw, and you fight for what the things that you believe in and you want to do with the year, because every single year of a Miss Great Britain is completely different, and that's what I love about it.
I mean, I do know there's a lot of fundraising activities involved as well. I know certainly from firsthand with contestants with the local Miss Hull contestants and competition, and of course that enhances even more so with the national and international role that the ladies have. I mean, how does that look? Because it is a travelling around the world, wasn't it? Wasn't there a famous case 2 or 3 years ago where wasn't there a contestant who had said she didn't have any children on her entry form, and it was found out that she had a child, and there was this big and the I think it was Miss World, and where they said that because the schedule is so intense that it needs 110% commitment. I mean, people think that it's going around and smiling in front of cameras, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, if only it was, that would be amazing. I was actually lucky enough to meet the girl that you're talking about. I got asked to go on Good Morning Britain earlier on this year. It was.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
and
that's right.
They interviewed her there, and she was such a lovely girl. So she was part of the Miss World organisation, which is a little bit different to Miss Great Britain. In Miss Great Britain, you can be married, you can have children, and it is up to you. If you think that you can fulfil the commitment and the role and still, have other commitments, then we're 100% going to back you. Whereas Miss World, Miss World is a much, much bigger organisation than Miss Tourism World, where I got sent to. And it is a full-time job, and it's more for the protection of the girls than anything else, and the girls' children, because you are literally traveling everywhere, and there is a lot of work involved. And so this particular lady had filled her form out. She had signed it and said that she didn't have children. She'd never been married, because that's something else that they do ask you within that organisation. And she actually won her country, which sent her as a delegate to Miss World. But before she actually got there, they did find out. And she's made a huge press thing out of it. She's actually done amazing from it. So she's probably done it better than if she'd have won. But she's done a whole sort of campaign on it. And I do think eventually, rules will change and it will become up to that person, which personally I think it should be. I do understand that there is a lot of work, and when I went to Malaysia for 3 weeks with Miss Tourism World, could I have taken a child with me? Absolutely not. It just would not have been possible. But then there was ladies competing that did have children, and that's up to them.
And so going to Malaysia, so loads of time on your hands, putting your feet up, cocktail, often there, and just socialising with the girls, or I imagine it was very...
Yeah, that's what I think I was like expecting, a bit like Love Island. We'll just go and we'll chill out and have a bit of a chat. No, I had been told before that the workload when you get there was going to be immense, but I never could have really set myself for just how much it was going to be. I mean, we was starting at kind of 8 o'clock in the morning, and we would be running through till 2 a.m. and like even down to little things like our heels had to stay on. That is a long time to have heels on. I used to sleep with my legs up the wall so that they didn't swell. And it was just constant rehearsals, constantly going around different places. No, we didn't I was exhausted by the end of it. Absolutely loved it. Would not have changed a minute of it, but it is full on. And so with all of that intensity, what was it like being with all the ladies from around the world? Was everybody in it and focused as individuals, and there was some friction, or did everybody just appreciate how hard it was and it was better to get along, or was it? Yeah, I really, before I did pageants, I was under the sort of like influence that it was going to be quite bitchy and things like this, and it actually put me off. I didn't get into pageants till I was 26 because I thought that's kind of what it was going to be like, and then I'd had a few friends do it and I thought I'm just going to give it a go. So when I went to Miss Tourism World, I thought, oh gosh, have I been really lucky so far in that everyone's been really nice? Is this going to be a completely different kettle of fish? But honestly, I have made the most amazing friends. We still talk now. Obviously with social media and things, you can keep in touch, and we just really clubbed together as a team. And it really was just like, right, we're in this together, let's just get through it. And they become like your family in that 3 weeks, because you are just with each other so intensely. My mum and stepdad flew out thinking that they would get to spend loads of time with me, and I saw them about half an hour in total. That was it until the final night. So obviously we spent a lot of time with the girls, and there was a little bit of a language barrier there, but we just got on with it. It was amazing. I loved learning about them and talking to them, and we really did make some really good. They made it. That was the best part about it.
That's awesome, and it wasn't short of drama, right? So tell our audience what happened at the actual event itself, because I remember I remember it popping up on the news, and I knew you were there. And it just sounded absolutely bonkers, and such a shame, really, such a shame. You know, it just seemed so sad out, because you know how much work goes into this from individuals and naturally the whole team behind it themselves. So what happened?
It really was a shame, because we was definitely not under the illusion that anything was kind of going to happen. The sponsor for the final that I was there was a hotel group. So while we was there, we was traveling around different hotels and things, and then the final was in this hotel. And he was sort of like trying to make sort of like friends, and you could see who he sort of liked across the days, but I didn't really take much notice of that because it was just so busy. On the final night, made the top 15, so I was absolutely over the moon with that. I then made the top 5.
No way.
Oh my God, this is mental. So when you make a top 5 in a pageant, you've got a title then, because you're either 4th runner-up, 3rd runner-up, you know, and so on. So I was like, do you know what? If I can just go home with a sash now, like as mental as that sounds, but a new title, that is like, I've made it. So I was like, amazing, I'm in the top 5. And I could see my mum and my stepdad in the audience, and they just like wasn't happy. And I thought, what more do you want me to do? Like, I'm here, I'm in the top 5, what do you want? And my mum's face was more like reassuring me. And you know, when you just get that gut feeling like, oh my God, what, like something's just not right. And there was a little bit of a heated discussion around the judges table in front of us, as they was about to bring the sashes and the crown on. And they'd interviewed us on stage at this point as well. So we'd been on stage for about half an hour as this top 5, having pictures done, being interviewed and stuff. And then as they was about to come on stage, it just all kind of like blew up, and we was told, and we could see it in front of us, basically the guy that was the hotel owner that had sponsored the event, this wasn't his top 5. Miss Malaysia wasn't in the top 5, so he wasn't very happy with that. There's a couple of other girls that wasn't in the top 5 that he wasn't happy with, and he basically chucked myself, Miss Venezuela, and Panama off the top 5, and said if you don't agree with that, then you can get out. There was a whole new top 5. I was not part of it. Wow. And then when
was he a judge? Was he a judge?
No.
Or purely?
No.
Oh my word.
So the presenters on stage, you could just see how embarrassed they were, because there was like, there's been a miscalculation. And if you ask them now, they will say there was a miscalculation. But when I spoke to my mum afterwards, I was like, I could just tell that something wasn't right. And she said somebody actually come up to us and said they're not going to let her win. Somebody actually went up to my stepdad in the toilet and was like, they're pulling her out. It can't happen. Miss Great Britain can't win. That's not what the plan was. Then that one folded. So it resulted in a lot of the girls actually not coming back out on stage, obviously, for when the final, because everyone was just so upset, and they really did sort of like team power it up, like, well, when we're not coming back on stage then. What a story to tell.
That's a story to tell the grandkids, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, how did you feel at the time, Simon? Because that's awful. That really is awful, isn't it? The amount of work and dedication and commitment that you personally put into that, and then it's down to an individual who's got far too much money and flexing his financial muscles, and that's just really horrible. I mean, it must have been so horrible.
Yeah, it was. You know, when you just feel like your heart drop, and it was just very disappointing. I was that sort of like shocked what I just kind of like watched, stood on stage having to smile still and look professional, but watching what was going on in front of us. I think I was just shocked. I didn't really like cry. I didn't feel upset. I was just like, wow, after all this, that is what happened. And a big thing that they had us campaigning for, because in Malaysia on that year was the year of women empowerment. And then this man just come in and completely obviously turned it on its head. So it was all very hypocritical. But, you know, the next day with the girls, we just all got around the pool. We kind of said, we're not doing anything else now. We're not doing press calls. So we all decided we wasn't doing that. And we just made the most of the last day, and we really did just stick together. But it was pretty scary as well, being in a foreign country, so far from home. and, you know, kind of being told that you'll be thrown out of the hotel if you don't agree with it. They didn't feed the girls the next day. Breakfast was like not put on. But, you know, luckily I had my mum and my stepdad there. Miss Venezuela, she was only 18 and she had no family with her. And in Venezuela, pageants are huge, like absolutely. Her family was distraught and she was on her own. So that was really horrible. So we kind of adopted a few girls and like, you know, come on, we'll look after you for the last couple of days. But yeah, it was really, really sad because it had been a really hard working experience, but an incredible experience as well.
Wow. So how did you juggle all of that and your own business at the time? And you had, you know, I know you had your salon business, and you also you had your Herbalife business going on as well at the same time. I mean, how were you juggling all of that? Was that pretty tricky? Did you have a good team and support network around you?
Yeah, definitely. So at the time of doing Miss Great Britain and going to Miss Tourism World, I'd only just kind of got involved with Herbalife Nutrition. I was kind of using the products more myself because I was so busy. I needed something quick and on the go to keep me healthy more than anything else. So I was helping a few people, but my main sort of focus was Miss Great Britain and the salon. And I'm really lucky because my sister has always worked at the salon with me. And I had another couple of stylists, and I've been lucky that the stylists I've had have always sort of felt like family. So I've always been able to do the things that I've wanted to do. I know that the salon was absolutely fine at the time. And then come back, and it was really nice to just come back and have that normality again, to be honest. I was really ready for it.
I can imagine. And yeah, tell us, did you have the salon? Was it 6 years that you had the salon for?
Yeah, so I had the salon for 6 years. I actually closed it beginning of this year. I was going to go and work for some close friends of ours, Phil, who obviously sometimes does the podcast with you as well. I'd worked for them before.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's good to be couldn't be here today. He's having Wi-Fi problems, and he literally, if he'd have come on, it would have been in and out completely.
Yeah.
So he does apologise. He was looking forward to it, but yeah, we've got mutual connections.
Yeah, so I worked for Phil and Keris just before I got my own salon actually, and my sister had worked there as well. So the plan with my Herbalife Nutrition business sort of going so well, I kind of wanted to put a little bit more focus towards that now. And the plan was to close the salon and go and work with Keris and Phil again, which I was really excited for. And then obviously lockdown happened, so nobody was expecting that. And throughout lockdown, the business has just kind of gone boom, and it's got to a place where I've wanted it to get to for a long time to be able to do it full time. And we made the decision that I was just going to carry on doing this now. So that hair sort of dressing chapter has now closed, but super excited for everything else that I've got going on. So I do my Herbalife Nutrition business. So I help people with their health, energy, fitness goals. And then obviously when we're not in a pandemic, I coach the girls for Miss Great Britain, like we just mentioned.
And how has lockdown been for you? I mean, how has life changed? I mean, it's been very different for majority, if not all, everybody, of course. Yeah. How has that changed for you? I mean, how have you, has business, have you been able to work on business? Has there been sales, and growth? Or has it just been about kind of maintaining a bit of momentum and activity on socials, linking in with your teams? How has that looked?
Yeah, so I always feel kind of awkward saying this because obviously there's been a lot of upset and there's a lot of businesses not doing very well. But we've actually been really, really lucky. My business has tripled, and we was very quick in the beginning to get an online structure put in, so that we could still help the team, we could still help customers, all from online. And we was kind of moving that way anyway, to have that as well as having the physical sort of meetings, but it just pushed us that little bit further, and it's been unbelievable actually. We've been able to help more people, and we've been able to help more people, not just sort of like in their health and fitness, but we've been able to help people set up a business to bridge the gap of what's been going on as well. So it's just been nice that when I've been speaking to people, I can help, because there's a lot of people out there that aren't as lucky and as fortunate as I am. And had I not been open-minded to this 3 years ago, things would have been completely different. Obviously my business would have gone down overnight, you know, because salons was just shut overnight. So I do feel very fortunate. I feel very grateful, and it's just been right. We're in momentum. Let's get our foot down and go even harder. And that's what we've done, and that's what we plan to do. So yeah, I'm loving it. I am loving it, and I'm loving helping more people and having access to help more people, because obviously we can do it all online.
And what have you done? What's been different in terms of any kind of like processes, anything that you've implemented during lockdown, and then are there any of those that you can see following through once you come out of this? Once we come into a new normal, I guess that's what we keep hearing. So, are there any of these new systems that you've adapted and taken on that you can see continuing forward?
Yeah, definitely. So something that we are quite big on is, obviously we are people like people. So we get out and we help people, and a big part of our structure is our meetings. So we have meetings up and down the country, physical meetings that people will come to either try the products or find out about the business. So that's sort of like our hub. We would work meeting to meeting to bring new people. So obviously we couldn't do that. So that kind of fully went online, and it's actually meant that we've been able to help and attract more people, because if somebody couldn't get to a meeting, they can listen in on their phone. So we've actually decided that we're going to keep that structure in, even when we've got the physical meetings back. Launching somebody's business has been a little bit different, because usually that would be at somebody's house. They would get their family and friends round. But again, we've done that online, and we didn't know how that would go, but it's been brilliant. So I think it's just going to be an added structure into what we've been able to do. The only problems we have come against is obviously the high demand has meant that we've not had the stock at all times. So on a couple of occasions, we've had a few products go out of stock. The delivery times maybe got to 5 to 7 days at one point. But, you know, we're back on it now, next day delivery. And as from next week, everything should be back there available as well. But it just shows the demand, so we can't complain.
That's a very good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
So what gives an overview? What does what's been like a normal day look like, you know, in terms of work, and I would imagine that you keep yourself in check, so you exercising, and you know, how does a day look like, you know, during a working day, you know,
Yeah.
when you've been on lockdown?
So I think when we first went into lockdown, it was hard getting that routine back, and I actually struggled. I'm quite a positive person, but I was actually starting to feel quite down. I was worrying about things, and I think it was because I'd been so used to being busy and having that structure all the time. I suddenly felt a little bit lost. I'm really lucky because although me and my partner don't do the business together, we're within Herbalife Nutrition, and he's very disciplined in the morning. So I was kind of getting to the point where I was maybe still in bed at 8:30 thinking, oh, I feel a little bit like guilty about this. Should I be like up doing star jumps or something, just because he's like got up and cracked on with his day? I'm not a morning person. I work better sort of like on an evening. My evenings are always busy. That's what I like doing, but I have to have some structure. So in the morning, I'm a massive fan of, I don't know if you are, and when people haven't read it, they kind of think, what, that's a little bit out there, but I'm a massive fan of The Secret. And it's something that I've done for about 7 years now, and I honestly believe I would not have won Miss Great Britain without it. Like, that is something that I genuinely believe I did help to attract, because I believed in it so strongly. So that is something that I still do. So every morning I have to really try and force myself not to jump on social media or on my phone. So I have a gratitude book at the side of my bed, and I just write 5 things that I'm grateful for right now, and 5 things that haven't happened but as if they have, and that kind of just sets me up for the day. Then I put some personal development on YouTube, so either Jim Rohn or Mark Hughes, or, you know, something that's just going to make me feel positive, because it's in the morning when I used to suffer with anxiety that I would get the thoughts coming in, and just it would ruin my day. So yeah, get up, get ready, have something like that on while I'm doing my makeup, and it doesn't take that long, trust me, but something like that on while I'm doing my makeup. And then yeah, checking in with team. I do quite a lot of calls on Zoom and things, speaking to new people, and just I always make sure that I've got a checklist for the day. If I can tick things off throughout the day, then I feel like I've been productive, because it's so easy when you're working from home for the day to just be gone and you feel like you've done nothing. So even if it's just 4 things that I want to achieve in the day, you know, even if it's not always business minded, just things that I want to do to stay productive, then that's what I tend to do. So mornings are massive for me, because I kind of feel that they do set me up then.
Attacking the day, right?
Yeah.
And the secret is all about putting positivity out there, projecting, you know, visualizing, right, and what you want. And it's funny because I was bought The Secret, the book, by someone very special to me, 2011, so yeah, about 9 years ago. And when it was given to me, it was also accompanied with the words that I actually don't want you to read this because you do it so naturally anyway, and there's maybe a risk that you might change in the ways of how I do. And I was given it at Christmas, and I don't read books, like my ADHD. My mind's too busy. I love audio and podcasts and all that because I can multitask, and then
that's what I listen to it on.
Yeah, and do you know what? It got to the February, Saffron, and I thought, do you know, out of politeness, I need to read this. So I read the first chapter, went to football training straight after, and broke the first and only bone in my hand, in my body, and it was in my hand that I've ever broke. And do you know what? I just thought, that's a sign.
I'm not reading it.
Not reading it again. So I think there was a sign there, but I totally get you all about that. It's amazing. Have you ever heard where Jim Carrey wrote a check to himself for $10 million? And he used to drive up to the Hollywood Hills, and he just used to sit there and look at it, and it was for services rendered. And he dated it. I forgot what see if he dated it 1994. Yeah. And when 1994 came in, he got $10 million for, was it Dumb and Dumber? And
I mean, you can see us, obviously people on the call, but like that's Matt's scoreboard behind us. So we're like, my screensaver on my phone is my goal board. I've actually just changed it because there was things on there that I'd ticked off, so I needed a new one. So that was amazing. But yeah, before I read it, and then when I did read it, I was kind of thinking, there is certain things that I feel like I do already. But this just made me think about when you are having a bad day. And this is something that I do with the Miss Great Britain contestants as well, sort of this sort of training as well. But, you know, when you wake up and you're feeling rubbish and you stub your toe and then you drop the milk and then, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's because you're in this state of mind. Whereas if you can just wake up and think, even if it's just 3 things like thankful for, you know, your bed, having a roof over you, feeling really, really good, it just makes things run a little bit smoothly, because I think quite often we don't appreciate things, and I think that's something that lockdown has taught us. We don't appreciate things until they change, and lockdown has allowed us to appreciate those little things again, and I just love it. I think although things have changed, I think there's a lot that we can learn from it as well.
Yeah, and don't you find it interesting that, because personally speaking, I love change and throw myself into things and seeing what happens and switching, you know, life's path. That's kind of one of my things I just get the biggest enjoyment about. Whereas, you know, people need to feel safe and secure and know what they're going to do and all that. And it's not until something's enforced, like a pandemic, or that they get fired, made redundant, you know, or there's a tragedy, and then they're forced into a new outlook and, you know, a new way of living. And it's not until that happens that then their paths completely change, and they would never have done that.
100%.
What would you say? What would you say? And this is quite a big question, actually. What would you say is essentially the biggest lesson or moment that you could pin that's happened to you in your life, whether it be positive, negative? You know, was there a point that, I mean, and potentially maybe the you know, that final of standing on a global stage. I mean, it's certainly that, or that might be seem obvious. But what was it that in life maybe just made you switch from a path, or just changed your outlook completely? What would be the thing that springs to mind?
Yeah, so without obviously like changing the mood, but I lost my dad when I was 22, so 8 years ago. And before then, my dad had always been, he was very strong with his work ethic. He was an entrepreneur, he had a very successful business. So I'd always been inspired by how hardworking he was. He wasn't afraid to pick things that was different. He wasn't bothered about, you know, just fitting in. And because when I was at school, I'd always been bullied. I'd always been bullied for being ugly, for how I looked, and I just had no confidence. And even though it had happened at school, even at sort of like 2021, it still massively affected me. So there was lots of things that I wanted to do, but I just kind of thought people would laugh at me. And one of them had been doing pageants. My mum had done pageants, and she was in Miss Great Britain when she was my age. And I'd seen friends do it. I'd been to different, like the Miss Hulls when friends would do it. There was just lots and lots of things that I wanted to do with my life, but I just didn't have the confidence to do. I just thought if it's going to happen, then something will happen and it'll make me do it. But I was quite hard on myself and really believed everything that, I'd been told when I'd been bullied at school. So when I lost my dad, it just made me realize that life is actually far too short, and you can have the absolute worst thing happen to you. And that was my biggest fear in life, losing my dad. And you've still not done everything. You've still not done anything that you wanted. It's not changing anybody else's opinion of you. So why was I holding my back? Why was I holding myself back so much? So it just made me a little bit braver, I think. It made me more grateful for things. Even though I've not got my dad here, I still class myself as extremely lucky because I've got an incredible family and I had that relationship with my dad. So it made me much more, it's weird because obviously he's not here and that's a massive gap, but it made me much more appreciative of things and actually realise how lucky I am, and that, if you want to do something, then sod what the rest of anybody else thinks. It's up to you. We don't come back. It's not a rehearsal. You have to go and do it. So, get a little bit braver, step outside your comfort zone. And it's horrible and it literally feels sick when you very first start doing it. But that is genuinely where the magic happens. And I think I remember when my dad was ill and so many nurses would say to me, you'll be such a strong person after this. And I used to think, I don't want to be a different person. I just want my dad here. But then looking back, it really did teach me so much. I think I had to grow up and take that next step much quicker. And it just made me think, do you know what? Yeah, you will never please everyone. So you might as well just do what makes you happy. And it sounds cliche, but that really was sort of like the turning point for me. And it just made me rethink a lot of things. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And that's incredible. That's really, really powerful and super inspirational. It's those situations that you either sink or swim, right? And it's very clear. I mean, of course, I know you, and certainly even on this episode, you've said a number of things. It's just about attacking the day and being on the front foot. And it's not to say that things are guaranteed to work out, and often they don't. But you've got a much greater chance of luck finding you, right? If you're going out there and giving things a go and risking looking like an idiot, being a failure, all of that. And
you're much closer to being successful when you failed and when you've looked an idiot and when things haven't gone right, because you've learned. So you're one step closer then. It's losing that risk of, oh my God, but what if I do look an idiot? What if this doesn't work out? So what, People will maybe comment on it 1 minute and then the next minute they're saying, anyone want a cup of tea? Like, they've moved on, So it's
such a when you get to that point. I mean, I think it took me about 34 years-ish to get to that point. 35 years, maybe even 36 to be fair, of coming to that position of I don't care anymore. And it's not like saying I don't give a shit. Because you need to in the right situations. You've got to make sure you think about others and all of that. But just being able to know who you are within yourself as a person, it just not only makes it just. I just think it changes everything. And actually, it's quite a difficult thing to really to get the message. Not only get the message across, but for an individual to appreciate that, because I often find it's within yourself. I mean, someone can tell you time and time again, don't worry about what they say about, they don't, but that's easy to say, but it's quite difficult. But I do think that it's, it's an internal process.
And I still now and again, someone will make a comment, and more often than not, if somebody makes a comment, it's when they don't know me, they've made an assumption, and that actually hurts me more, because I think, why would you think that? And that can get me down. But then I just think, do you know what? It's fine. Like, it's fine. If they want to find out who I am and what I'm actually about, then that will happen. But in the meantime, don't worry about it. you know, because that is the type of thing that would, you know, you can make all the changes in the world, but you'll still not be somebody's type. You know?
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. It's impossible to please everybody.
Yeah.
So just trying to stop. It's almost like just stop trying to do that.
Yeah, just please the people that mean something.
Yes, exactly. Well, so you spoke about, was it your mission board? Is that how you work?
Oh, my goal board in the background. So that one's actually Matt's. I always have mine on my phone, on my screensaver, because you know, obviously we're on our phones all the time. But yeah, Matt's had that one a couple of years, and there's actually a few things on there that have been ticked off that we've not even really realised, you know, it just been there. And yeah, so that is something that I do like to do. It's not about being flashy. It's not always about materialistic things that are on there. Mine's not really like that. It's more images that represent something that I want to achieve. So yeah, obviously with Herbalife Nutrition, I've literally just got a new promotion, and that was on my phone screensaver from the beginning of this year. And then it had a few things around it that represented it. And it was weird how when I then sort of like really looked to it this month to change it, I was like, oh gosh, I've actually achieved like more on there than I thought. So I think visualization is a big thing, because you know, you can. And when we were talking about the Jim Carrey YouTube video, if anybody's not listened to it, you have to type it in, because it does literally blow your mind. But you can attract things, and you can completely change your life if that's what you want to do. Could just be little things. And
it's just, it can often be, because you know, people do say everything's achievable. It's just how long it will take, which can vary greatly. And how much you're prepared to sacrifice and commit to that goal.
I think sometimes people expect too much in 1 year and don't give themselves enough justice in maybe 5 years. So, you know, everybody kind of wants everything now, when the things that take a little bit longer actually mean so much when you actually get there.
And patience is so valuable, isn't it? Because we live in an instant world now. You know, people have instant information and instant responses and likes and comments, all of that. Everything's
we don't need to wait for anything.
No, so to try and get the message across, especially when you're working with your teams, that it's a process and you've got to put the work in order to achieve this. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
How do you find that working with your team, especially, you know, younger team members who literally have been brought up in this instant. You know, instant click, instant result, you know, environment that we find ourselves in.
I mean, when we're sort of like having daily conversations and things, I always say to my team, sort of the work you put in now starts to reward you on day 91. So in 3 months' time. So if you want things to change in 3 months' time, you need to start doing a few things now. But I think we come across it a little bit more because my business is part of network marketing, and a lot of people think that it's some get rich quick scheme. And if you don't get rich quick, it obviously means it doesn't work. It's not. That doesn't exist, you know? There's no such thing. There's met lots and lots of successful people, but they've not done it overnight. They've done you know, consistent daily actions over a long period of time. And that is what's brought the success. So I love that quote that says, you know, never judge someone on the chapter that you walk in on, because you have no idea what they've done beforehand. So I think it is setting expectations and saying, you know, what do you want to achieve? How much time are you willing to put in, and over how long are you willing to put this time in? And then, you know, working out whether that is achievable, or whether we maybe need to set the goalposts a little bit different. Because like any business, it takes time. You know, you'll have months where are not as good as others. You'll have months where you want to quit and you just think, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm done. And then you get back up the next time and you're loving it again. It's just like any normal business. But it's just managing your expectations, I think. Because with any business, you can completely change your life and achieve everything you want, but you've got to put that graft in. I always say the harder I work, the luckier I get. And it's true.
Yes, indeed. Well, you know, have you... do you public speak? Do you do inspirational talks? Because you just radiate all of this positivity and experience and drive. You know, do you do public speaking? Have you been approached before? I imagine, of course, the process being Miss Great Britain that threw you into that. I imagine. So, I'm sure you'll have done an abundance of that. Is that something that you've continued to follow?
Yeah, I do. love doing it. I love speaking. I love helping people. And the first time that I actually did it was when I went back to Miss Great Britain the year after I won, and they was doing a masterclass, and they asked me to share my story and sort of like what my journey was. And my journey included a lot of self-development and mindset and sort of what we've spoke about. So I touched on it then, and a few people was like, that was incredible, like I absolutely love that, you need to do that more often. So then I got invited back the next year and did it again. And then now within Herbalife Nutrition, because of the sort of level that I've got to, it does allow me to speak at events, regional and even our national events on Zoom call at the minute. I was lucky enough to do that just last week, and I do love doing it, just because I just think there is so much to share, and it's not a secret, you know, so but it is good, and it is something that I would like to do more of, definitely.
Well, so when it comes to looking forward and visualization, what is the ultimate? What's the ultimate goal? I know that's a biggie, and it could be quite broad, but what do you see as being, you know, when you kind of visualize yourself in a position with things happening around you and feeling a certain way? What does that look like? What's the ultimate?
I think for me, it's having, I mean, I've not even got children yet, but my why is quite a big one for when I get there. I'm quite, my partner's very, very successful, but I'm quite independent myself as well. So when that time comes, I want to have that financial freedom that I can spend the time with my children. When we lost my dad, a lot of things happened with his company, and we was literally weeks from becoming homeless. So for me, it's making sure that my children never have to do that. I would love to be able to retire my mum and be able to look after her. So I think my big goal is not really about myself. It's more about what I can do for other people. But, you know, money doesn't buy happiness at all, but I think it can alleviate a lot of stress as well. So it's more about that lifestyle, being able to travel. I love the thought of being able to work from absolutely anywhere and create it around a happy, healthy family like I was brought up in. So I think that's the main goal, really. Yeah, it's not really about materialistic things. It's more about what I can provide and feel independent in my own right, you know, as a mummy one day still as well.
Awesome, Saffron. Well, I've certainly been inspired. But before we go, where can people find you? Where your website, social hooks?
Yeah, so I'm my main one is on Instagram, Saffron Hart. I kind of do all my personal business, everything through there. I then have my Linktree account on there, so you can get access to my health and wellness plans, and also have a little nosy about the pageant coaching that I do too. So main handle is on Instagram, but I am on Facebook as well as Saffron Hart.
And that's Hart with H-A-R-T,
yes.
Isn't that? That's H-A-R-T, of course. Well, I would fully encourage people to follow you and link up with you, because, I mean, we worked, I think, God, it must be 6-ish years ago now.
When will it be? What was it? 2017 it was. So just over 3 years ago. 2016. 2016 it was. Yeah.
2016, and of course, so we've been friends on Facebook, and it's just been wonderful to watch your journey and put a positive comment and a like and stuff, and you are an absolute inspiration. You know, you're clearly positive, and you buzz out of inspiring others. That is evident. So I know that you've been on our show will certainly make a positive impact on others, and I'll hold you to coming back and being on our show once again.
Yeah, so, no, I'd absolutely love
thanks so much.
Thank you ever so much for inviting me. I've loved it. Thank you.
No, awesome, and all the best. Not that you need it. Not that you need any luck wishing, because I think, you know, it's going to come your way in abundance. But yeah, awesome. All the best in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.